I stopped checking the phone. I stopped asking, when is it going to happen? I stopped begging the universe for signs. And the strangest thing happened when I finally let go, he proposed. Not because I chased him, but because I chose myself. There's a moment in every love story when you stop fighting with reality and finally surrender to faith. Not the kind of faith that waits, but the kind that knows. I didn't give up on the desire, but I let go of the pressure. I stopped trying to figure out the path. I stopped staring at the absence. I began walking as if the love I desired was already done. And in that shift, the world shifted too. The marriage didn't come when I was obsessed with the ring. It came when I no longer needed it to feel whole. Because the moment you release the grip, the very thing you once chased begins chasing you. Letting go is not about forgetting the dream. It's about stepping into the version of you who already has it. You stop waiting and start being. You no longer talk about what's missing. You talk like someone who's already there. You set the table for two. You sleep peacefully. You carry the confidence of someone who's already chosen. And the universe responds to that energy not with delay, but with acceleration. You didn't lose anything by letting go. You made space for everything to arrive. There's a lie we've all been told that holding on tightly guarantees results. But the truth is, clinging suffocates miracles. The tighter you grip, the slower things move. Love cannot flow where fear is blocking the current. And for so long I was manifesting from lack, from worry, from need. I kept asking, what if it never happens? And those thoughts became the chains I wrapped around my desire. But the day I let go, the day I said, I don't know how, but I know it's mine, everything changed. I shifted from panic to peace, from pressure to presence. And presence is where love meets you. When I let go, I didn't lose hope. I found alignment. I found a deeper kind of belief that didn't need constant signs. I no longer scrolled looking for clues. I no longer prayed in desperation. I woke up and lived my life like someone who was already a wife in her spirit. I cooked with love. I walked with grace. I smiled without needing a reason. And it was that version of me, the free, flowing, trusting version, that became magnetic, that became irresistible, that became the open door through which the proposal came. Letting go doesn't mean letting it die. It means letting it breathe. It means trusting the power of your inner world over the noise of the outer world. You stop checking timelines and start trusting divine time. You stop controlling and start allowing. You stop obsessing and start knowing. Knowing that what is meant for you is not hiding, it's waiting you to become the version of yourself that no longer doubts. And when you become that version, the marriage, the love, the life you imagined, all of it flows in as if it was always meant to. People ask me now, how did it happen so suddenly? And I smile because the truth is, it didn't happen suddenly. It happened the moment I let go, but I had to become someone who could. I had to silence the inner noise. I had to stop needing constant evidence. I had to feel complete without the external title. And that's when the title came. The marriage showed up not as a rescue, but as a reflection of the love I had finally given myself first. You are not waiting for love to choose you. Love is waiting for you to surrender, to trust, to let go not of the desire, but of the desperation. The version of you who begs is not the version who receives. The version who trusts, who smiles, who walks in faith, that's the one who sees it all unfold. You don't chase what's already yours. You align with it. You live like it's already done. So if you're tired, if you're wondering why it hasn't shown up yet, maybe it's time to release the tension. Maybe it's time to stop watching the clock, to stop asking, where is it? And start saying, I know it's done. That shift in language, that shift in energy, it's everything. That's when the phone rings. That's when the plans are made. That's when the ring appears and the vow follows. I didn't beg for a proposal. I didn't force a wedding. I simply let go, and the marriage walked in. Letting go is not a sign of weakness, it's the highest act of inner strength. It's the moment you choose belief over begging. You stop asking the same questions, checking for signs, needing confirmation. You lean back into the knowing that what you desire is already yours, even if the world hasn't caught up yet. The energy of release is magnetic. It tells the universe, I trust you now. And in that trust, things begin to shift. Doors open quietly. People change without you pushing them. The moment you stop micromanaging the dream, you make room for it to unfold in a way far better than you imagined. You don't lose control, you gain power. Because now you're not driven by fear. You're rooted in faith. The kind of faith that doesn't panic when things are quiet. The kind that holds the vision when there's no evidence. That's what letting go really means. It means knowing it's done and walking like you believe it. You used to chase it, obsess over it, wonder where it went, why it wasn't happening when it would come. But nothing moved. The more you chased, the more it ran. Until the day you stopped. Not out of defeat, but out of realization. You saw the truth. Love doesn't come to the anxious heart. It comes to the one at peace. When you stop chasing, you return to yourself. You stopped looking outward for validation and began showing up inward with love. And something amazing happened. Your energy changed. You smiled for no reason. You glowed without effort. And then, without forcing anything, love began to chase you. Not just because you looked different, but because you felt different. You were no longer seeking, you were ready. And that readiness drew in exactly what your chasing once pushed away. It wasn't about what you did on the outside. It was how you lived on the inside. You began to live in the end. You stopped waiting for the proposal and started feeling like someone already committed. You didn't need to see the ring to feel married. You felt chosen before being chosen. You felt loved before the words were ever spoken. That was the shift. That was the moment the bridge started building itself. Life always follows your feelings. And the moment you carried the energy of it's already done, the delay began to dissolve. The external world is just a mirror, and now it reflected back the inner state you refused to compromise. You no longer waited for a title to feel secure. You became secure. And because of that, the marriage couldn't help but show up. You held on for so long, to the how, to the timeline, to the outcome. It drained you, didn't it? But the moment you let it go, you felt free. You didn't lose the dream, you just stopped strangling it. And with that release, space was made. Suddenly things started aligning, not because you chased harder, but because you allowed better. The moment you stopped forcing life, life flows. You didn't need to manipulate anything, you needed to trust everything. That's when it all began to unfold. Not with noise, but with grace. Not with chaos, but with clarity. Letting go is a door, not a wall. It doesn't close possibilities, it opens divine timing. And when you trust that, miracles slip in quietly. Just like love did, just like the marriage did. It showed up not when you were grasping, but when your hands were open. There's a difference between desire and desperation. You wanted love, but you also needed to learn not to need it. Because need carries fear. And fear builds walls between you and what you want. But peace tears those walls down. When you found peace within, everything began to make sense. You stopped checking your phone. You stopped needing reassurance. You stopped wondering what's wrong with you. You started showing up like love already lived inside you. And that's when the shift happened. That's when your energy invited love, not pushed it away. Desperation says, please come. Peace says, it's already here. And life responds accordingly. You attracted not because you begged, but because you finally believed. You didn't need to hunt for love. You simply needed to rest in the knowing that it would find you. You realized something powerful. Manifestation doesn't come from longing. It comes from alignment. You spent months, maybe years, trying to pull something in by thinking about it nonstop. But obsession isn't creation. Alignment is. And alignment means becoming the person who already has what they want. You aligned your thoughts, your emotions, your behavior to the version of you who is already loved, already secure, already married. And that version of you didn't worry. She didn't panic. She felt it was done. That's the secret feeling, the result now. Being in harmony with the life you desire, not in conflict with its absence. You changed your state. You stepped into a new identity. And that identity called forth the love that always existed in your field. You met it in the middle through inner alignment, not outer effort. The old version of you is still trying to earn love, prove worth, convince someone to stay. But the new you didn't need to perform. She knew who she was. She knew her value. She walked in confidence without needing applause. And it was that version of you the world responded to. That's when the marriage showed up, because finally the inner you no longer doubted she deserved it. You weren't begging to be seen. You were radiating truth. When you stopped needing love to define you, it arrives to celebrate you. And that's exactly what happened. You grew into the person who didn't just want the relationship, but who embodied the emotional readiness for it. The proposal came not to complete you, but to match the wholeness you had already stepped into. There's a difference between giving up and surrendering. Giving up feels like defeat, but surrender, that's divine. That's when you say, I still want this, but I trust it enough, chase it. That's when you put the vision down and say, it's already mine. I don't have to fight for what belongs to me. Surrender is quiet. Surrender is peace. And ironically, surrender is the most powerful stance you can take, because when you surrender, your energy becomes still, clear, unshakable. And from that space, life delivers. You stopped clinging, and in that letting go, you became a match for your desire. You stopped asking when. You started saying, I'm ready now. And that readiness spoke louder than words. It was your surrender that summoned the commitment, the ring, the life you once imagined. It all came after you released the grip. Your reality bends around your emotional certainty. If you feel it's already yours, the world has no choice but to reflect the truth. That's the principle that changed everything for you. You realize that belief isn't just a thought, it's an emotional state. And when you emotionally embodied, I am already married, you began to act, speak, and carry yourself like it was real. No more questioning, no more checking for signs. You began to live from the end. And that energy became irresistible. That confidence shaped your words, your posture, your presence. You stopped negotiating for love, you started walking in it, and the universe responded because it always does. It follows the vibration you hold most often. And now that you chose the energy of being already chosen, the world lined up accordingly. Waiting ended the moment your inner world stopped waiting. You didn't need a date or a deadline. You needed emotional conviction. You needed to stop pushing it off into the future and bring it into your present. Someday became now. You wore the feeling daily. You practiced gratitude like it already happened. You gave thanks for the love before you saw it. And by doing so, you collapsed the waiting room. There was no more gap. Just alignment. Just readiness. You weren't impatient anymore. You were prepared. And that emotional state changed everything. The moment your soul stopped waiting, the world did too. And just like that, the love showed up. The marriage showed up. Right on time. Just as you stopped looking for it and started living like it was already yours.